joining us for more discussion on the upcoming elections, we are joined by Keith Vaz, Chairman of the Integration Foundation, located in London, and Professor Swaran Singh, Foreign Affairs expert. Thank you very much for joining us. I wanted to come to you first, Keith Vaz. Germany is going through an economic recession right now, and there's also calls to increase defence spending. How might this fees in plans for the future how might this fees in plans for future parties?
Good morning from London. I think this is a pivotal election that's taking place tomorrow in Germany. Both those aspects, an increase in defence spending, obviously due to the election of Donald Trump, which has changed the political landscape of the world, is going to feature in this election. I don't think defence is going to be the defining issue as far as the voters in Germany are concerned. I think migration and immigration policy is going to be the key issue that people are going to vote on in the election tomorrow. And that means, how is Friedrich Merz's party going to do? Is it going to recapture the ground, the imagination of the German people, as was the case with Angela Merkel, still the strongest and most effective German leader, certainly of my lifetime? Or is the right-wing AfD going to take a much bigger chunk of the electorate? I think at the end of the day, you're going to have a coalition. Whatever happens in the election, the other parties have made it very clear that they will not do business with the AfD. And therefore, we're going to have a coalition government in Germany, as we are always going to see because of the electoral system that they have. But I think all countries in the EU have been shocked by what's happened in Washington, D.C., and all of them are committed to increasing defence spending. How? It's difficult to see what's going to be cut from national budgets in order to achieve that. But that is what they have to say, and that is what they will say in order, I think, to get elected. But it's going to be much closer than, of course, in previous elections. I'm afraid the centre-left, the Scholz party, going to do very badly in this election, from being the governing party probably to third ahead of the Greens. And there's going to have to be a coalition with everybody. I don't think that you can get away with not doing that because of the arithmetic of the German elections system.
Professor Swaran Singh, the Alternative for Germany party has been grabbing all the headlines. How popular really are they, and can they really make gains in this election?
Projections are in that direction. In fact, some of the projections are giving them a raise from about 10-12% to now 20, even 30% of vote share, which is creating concerns, as Keith mentioned, in most other parties who do not wish to work with AfD. And I think we have seen several months of instability in Germany because of coalition partners, the problems among themselves. And that, as the projections are, is going to only increase post-elections if you believe the kind of polls and shares of vote that are expected to come to each of these parties. Most estimates are that this alternative for Deutschland, AfD, is going to make the biggest gain this time. Whether it is only creation of social media, I think that would be difficult to imagine. They may not make 30%, but I think they will definitely make biggest gain. Projections are supported by the track record. If you have seen how they sort of managed to get about 90 plus seats in the last elections, they recently were able to actually form a government in one of the provinces. And of course, Scholz is supposed to lose in a major way in that sense. So other than the domestic concerns also increasingly are about this being the most powerful large economy in Europe, and now anticipated to take a much stronger role in making Eurozone and Europe much more autonomous as Donald Trump is withdrawing from European engagement. And if they continue to have these problems of coalition and instability at home, they will not be perhaps able to deliver in terms of European security, support to Ukraine, and so on. So concerns are both domestic and international, and in that sense, that kind of derailment even of the opposition party had been long in the view in that sense, since Merkel's last term was already unstable. So we don't know what is going to happen, but right now instability appears writ large, and that doesn't speak very positive in terms of Germany playing a role in stabilizing European situation.
Keith Vaz, the leader that you cited, Angela Merkel, one of the most popular German leaders of all time, she famously said, "We can do this," when talking about taking in migrants from across the world into Germany. Do you think that ideology has changed in Germany? Why is migration such at the forefront of this election?
I think there have been a number of incidents that have occurred in different German cities which have involved migrants, and therefore the parties of the far right seize on these very small incidents, obviously very important incidents to the people who are affected, all of them to be condemned by all of us sitting here. But the fact is, these particular incidents are catapulted into the public imagination as an expression of what all immigrants do. But actually, Angela Merkel was quite right to do what she did. She was the bravest, strongest European leader that I have seen. I mean, I'm biased because, of course, I'm a big Tony Blair fan. But the fact is, him apart, she really drove the whole European agenda very, very strongly. She had to do what she did. You cannot, because of Germany's history, leave people at the gate, shut the gates and stop people coming in when you are partly responsible for the fact that they're leaving their countries in the first place. I mean, the Western countries have to realize the reason why you have mass migration is, first of all, because you have some unscrupulous people involved in people trafficking who exploit people, but secondly, because you keep going to war with these countries. If you go and start bombing Syria, and if you ensure that there is instability in the Middle East, people will leave and they will come to live in Europe. So she was only taking what was the responsibility of the German government. She's being blamed, of course, but in terms of economic policy, as Professor Singh has said, Germany is an absolutely crucial country. We cannot have a European project without Germany and France working together. Now, Macron has only 2 years left of his term. So an incoming German Chancellor, who will be there for about 3 years until the next election, will only have a couple of years to work with Macron once you form the government in Germany, which is going to take some time. And that whole vacuum will remain. That's why I'm so keen on Britain rejoining the European Union, because I think we need to be there in order to be part of this project.
Professor Singh, given the fragmentation of voter support, what are the possible coalition scenarios, and how might ideological differences between parties influence policy making and governance?
If you notice that a good number of parties have publicly expressed their inability to work with the AfD, that could be the reason that they would like to somehow come together, but that kind of coalition will continue to be very unstable, will not be able to take very decisive actions, both at domestic level and at the level of European initiatives. In that sense, I think we will have this vulnerability of AfD actually becoming the kingmaker at some stage in case the other parties are not able to work together. And the constant, very public, very, very sharp interventions from United States, Elon Musk, Vice President J.D. Vance, and President Trump himself, will perhaps also add to that whole anxiety within these political parties as to how they are going to work together. And in that sense, I think instability to me seems to be writ large post-elections right now.
Thank you very much, Keith Vaz and Professor Singh, for joining us on that discussion.